Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking on one of those administrative nightmares that just plagues specialized therapy practices. I'm talking about physical therapy, OT, SLP, and we're going to turn all that confusing paperwork into knowledge you can actually use. Specifically, we are tackling a massive cash flow killer, commercial insurance claim denials. If you run a clinic, you know this feeling, the frustration of doing everything right clinically, and then rejection. Our listeners sent over a great stack of sources that really lay out how bad this problem has gotten. But thankfully, they also gave us a blueprint for how to fix it. So our mission today is to cut right to the specific causes and give you concrete steps to, protect your revenue.
And we should just jump right in with the core finding because it really changes how you have to think about this. The biggest reasons for denials, they almost never have to do with the quality of patient care. It's not about medical necessity.
So it's not the therapy itself.
Not at all. It's almost always administrative. We're talking about missing data, mismatched info, or just, outdated provider details. And to really get why this is such a time sink, we first have to clarify two key ideas that trip everybody up. The difference between credentialing and enrollment.
Okay, let's stop right there, because that sounds like a critical distinction. What is the difference, and why does confusing them cause so many problems?
Right. So credentialing is basically verification. It's the payer looking at a therapist's licenses, their education, their certifications, and saying, yes, this person is qualified to treat patients.
Like a quality check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, enrollment, which is sometimes called contracting, that's the next step. That's the administrative process of getting that qualified person into the insurance company's payment system. So enrollment says, okay, we have an agreement with this qualified person, and we're going to pay their claims. You absolutely need both. If they don't line up perfectly, the claim just stops dead in its tracks.
That makes so much sense. One is the quality check, the other is the payment contract. Okay, let's talk numbers then, because the sources you pulled paint a pretty startling picture. This isn't a small issue.
It's a crisis, really. The industry average for private insurance claims shows that nearly 15%,
15.
Yes, 15% of claims are denied right out of the gate. Just think about that. For every dollar you bill, 15 cents gets rejected immediately, and your staff has to spend hours trying to fix it.
And what's scary is that it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Right? Specifically for these admin issues we're talking about.
Yeah.
I saw one survey that found 54% of practices said credentialing-related denials actually went up in 2021.
That number is devastating. And for PT, OT, and SLP providers, every single one of those denials just bleeds revenue and wastes time. I mean, if your team is spending all day chasing down appeals for claims that should have been clean.
They're not scheduling new patients.
Exactly. They're not optimizing the practice. It's a huge opportunity cost.
So we know it's paperwork. But if you had to zoom in, what's the single most common slip-up that's driving that massive denial rate?
The sources all point back to the same thing. Critical provider information. It's either missing, it's mismatched, or it's just plain old out of date. We're talking about really simple oversights,
Like what?
An expiration date on a license wasn't updated in the payer system, or a signature is missing on some enrollment form, or, and this is a big one, the dates of service don't line up with the provider's official effective date in the network, any little thing like that, and the claim is kicked back as invalid.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's get into the specific tripwires from the sources, starting with the really technical side of things, credentialing and enrollment gaps.
Right. So if a therapist isn't fully credentialed and enrolled, the payer's automated system basically sees them as an unauthorized provider. To the computer, that therapist is invisible.
Invisible. That's a good way to put it.
And the examples are super specific. Take the NPI, the National Provider Identifier, that unique 10-digit number. If that number is typed in wrong in your own system, or, and this is crucial, if it's linked to the wrong specialty code, the claim fails immediately.
And the data shows just how common these technical glitches are. I saw that something like 12% of all denials are just for these kinds of data issues. 12% of your revenue, gone because of a typo in a 10-digit number.
It really speaks to how rigid the validation process is. I mean, the core principle for payers is non-negotiable. They cannot process a claim unless all the administrative data is there and it's accurate. If even one small detail is missing, the claim is incomplete, period. It doesn't matter how great the therapy was.
Let's talk about a tool that seems to complicate this. CAQH. That's the clearinghouse a lot of plans use, right? The Council for Affordable Quality Healthcare. Why does that cause so much trouble?
CAQH. It's meant to make things easier, but is a constant maintenance headache.
How so?
Well, let's say a therapist renews their license, great. But if they don't log into the CIQH system and attest to that update, or if the practice doesn't then push that update to each individual payer portal, you've just created a data mismatch.
So one change missed in another system.
Leads directly to a stack of denials 6 weeks later. It requires, just religious vigilance to keep it all in sync.
Okay, let's switch gears to the second major trigger you found. Network issues. This sounds like where practices get stuck in a kind of administrative limbo.
This is probably the most frustrating one because it deals with the insurer's timeline, which you have no control over. Payers can, just decide to close their panels, meaning they aren't taking new providers, or they can just be incredibly slow at processing the paperwork.
And this is that timeline trap you mentioned. The sources say payers can take, 60 to 120 days to finalize a new therapist's enrollment.
Exactly. So imagine you hire a brilliant new OT. She starts seeing patients right away because you think the paperwork is moving along. For 3 months, she's a ghost provider in that system, even though she's doing amazing work.
And all the claims you submit for her.
They're either held or denied outright because the insurer hasn't assigned her an effective date yet. So you have months of work suddenly in financial jeopardy. It's a staggering risk.
It completely disconnects the clinical work from the revenue cycle. But sometimes the mistake isn't even on the practice's side, right? What happens when the insurer makes a mistake? Like moving a provider to the wrong network or giving them the wrong taxonomy code.
That's a great point, and it's a huge source of frustration. When the insurer messes up the classification, the practice has to spend its own time and money to call them, appeal, and fix the payer's own mistake. It's like an administrative tax. But the key takeaway is the same. Whether the error started in your clinic or at the insurance company, the denial is because of a paperwork problem, not a patient care problem.
Okay, so the problem is clear. It's administrative, it's expensive, it's slow. What are the actual concrete steps practices can take? The sources say the key is catching these things before they even get to billing.
Prevention really starts with a change in mindset. Credentialing isn't a one-time thing you do when you hire someone. It's continuous risk management.
So let's break that down. Prevention strategy number 1, a routine data audit.
Yes. Practices have to set up a strict, regular schedule to audit all their provider data. You need to check every therapist's NPI, their license numbers, their board certifications, and this is the most important part, their enrollment status with each and every commercial plan you bill.
Whoa, wait. For every single plan? For a small PT practice, that could be dozens of plans. That sounds like a massive burden for an office manager who's already doing 10 other jobs.
It is a massive burden. And that's exactly why the problem is so widespread. It takes dedicated, specialized effort. This is why, for many practices, using credentialing software or working with a specialist firm becomes almost necessary. They can automate tracking all those renewal dates and manage the different requirements for all the payer portals. So the moment a license is renewed, boom, it's updated everywhere.
It makes the task manageable. Okay, let's get to prevention strategy number 2. This was about correct alignment and timing.
Right. Taxonomy alignment. This is critical. You have to make sure that each therapist's specialty code, their taxonomy, perfectly matches the services you're billing for.
So you can't bill for speech therapy if the provider is coded as a physical therapist.
It's a guaranteed denial. The insurer's computer will see it as a claim from the wrong type of specialist. And then, tying back to that timing trap, when you sign a new insurance contract, you have to demand to know the exact effective from date.
Why is that so important?
Because if the insurer backdates the enrollment by, say, 2 months, you have a very short window to submit all those old claims. Many practices lose that money because by the time they get the effective date, the claims from month 1 are already past the payer's 90-day filing limit.
So if doing all this internally is so complex, the sources really seem to point toward outsourcing, investing in credentialing specialists.
Absolutely. Trying to manage all those different payer rules internally is, for many, a losing battle. A specialist brings that deep knowledge of each insurer's specific and often quirky requirements. They can spot a potential problem long before you even submit a claim.
The source material had a great phrase for this.
It did. Spending money to make money. And it's true. The cost of fixing one denied claim, the staff hours spent on the phone, filing appeals, resubmitting, it costs far more than having an expert proactively monitor everything from the start.
Let's circle back to the maintenance part, because you mentioned this is not set it and forget it. What's this re-credentialing trap?
It's the most dangerous assumption a practice can make. Most payers require you to re-credential every 2 to 3 years. They need to re-verify everything, licenses, certifications. It's not optional.
And if you miss that deadline, what happens?
The consequences are immediate, and
Yeah.
they are severe. The payer has the right to completely suspend that provider's network status.
So they just turn them off.
They turn them off. All claims for that provider will be held or denied until the re-credentialing is finished, which, as we know, can take months. It causes a massive, immediate hole in your cash flow, all because of a preventable deadline.
So really, when a PT, OT, or SLP practice brings in that kind of expert support, they're buying peace of mind. They're buying security so the therapist can just focus on patients, knowing the payment side is stable.
That's it exactly. Proactive credentialing isn't just some administrative task. It is the single most important revenue protection strategy a practice can have. Clean data upfront means clean claims, which means faster payments and way less stress for everyone.
And that brings us to our final thought for you to chew on today. We know that initial enrollment can take up to 120 days. And we know that missing a re-credentialing deadline gets a provider suspended immediately. So if a practice delays their internal audit by just 1 month, how many thousands of dollars are they putting at risk in claims that are going to be held up or denied? This isn't just about paperwork. It's about improving your cash flow and letting your staff focus on what actually matters: patient care. Take this knowledge, run with it, and really explore the complexities of your multi-payer network management. You'll definitely thank yourself for the peace of mind.